Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself today. I know it's another beautiful day. It's always exciting coming your way every weekend. I want to believe that everybody's doing awesome. Prof,
Yes, sir.
how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
And I can't see your professorial look
Oh,
today. Yeah,
today I just came back from the shop, so I'm in my t-shirt.
okay. I think it's better now. When you sit back, I
Uh,
can right, yeah.
I actually had to turn on the lights and
Oh, okay.
then put the blinders up because there is sunlight.
Yeah, yeah,
It's Texas, so there's sunlight behind me.
yeah. Alrighty. I hope everything is going awesome today.
Oh yeah.
Great, great. Alrighty. Without much ado, we will kick this into gear. Thank you all for being a part of Analyze This today. Um, Today we are going to be talking about an international trend. I know most people hit me up. Hey, we haven't heard you guys talk about it. You seem to be standing with the youth of Africa, and we have not heard any statement from you guys. So today we will talk about it. It's a very, I must say, I wouldn't say complicated, but it has some dynamics to it, which I would explain later when I'm giving my submission on my take on what's going on in the world. We'd also talk about State today in Ghana. That is a menace, and that is why we keep talking about it every week. Um, but before we zoom into what we're going to be talking about today, I just want to start by saying our usual that creativity and inventions are not by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. I repeat, creativity and inventions are not by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. So let us educate ourselves and be creative. If you educate yourself, if you enlighten your mind, you have no option than to be creative. You have no option than to invent because it will kickstart your creativity into action. So let us educate our minds and be creative, irrespective of the color of one's skin. With that being said, on this platform, we entertain differences in opinions. We want you to table your different opinions. If you have any different opinion other than what we're expressing on the platform, you are more than liberty to table that opinion. But we don't entertain insults on this platform. So please, if you want to insult, we would take you off the platform because this is a platform where we discuss. We don't argue. We learn from each other. We don't come here with an entrenched position trying to push it down somebody's throat. We don't have all um, um, the right answers to the problems we're going to be discussing. That is why we entertain differences in opinions. We entertain people to look at it from a different perspective or from a different spectacle other than what we are looking at it from. So we can discuss. Somebody would say jaw and make sense and make meaning out of it. With that being said, I'll just let Prof introduce himself and do his initial submission. We have Miss Veronica. We are honored today to be blessed with her presence today. So we would hear from her as well. All right, Prof.
Yeah, I would like to also reiterate that the society that we want to live in tomorrow is the society that we build today, and that nobody else is coming around to build that for us. As Africans, we've been sitting out here waiting for somebody else to come and save us when indeed we are our own saviors. And it is really, really nice and wonderful to see that there is an awakening in the African spirit. It seems that Dubois is being reborn in the youth of today. Kwame Nkrumah is being reborn. Gaddafi is being reborn. And people are actually taking part in the rebuilding of Africa. It is wonderful to see that a lot of diasporans, especially from the Americans, are going back home, and they are not just going to visit. Some are relocating, some are putting their businesses in Africa, and it behoves on us, the indigenous, those that have been there and we never moved, to accept and actually welcome our brothers from the diaspora. Culture. Joseph Hill once says that Africa has become a two-finger jack, meaning that a three-finger jack rather,
Great.
meaning that two of Africa's fingers have been chopped off. Those that have been chopped off are in the diaspora. And until they all come home and we become a five-finger jack, you cannot make a fist. You cannot tie a knot with only three of your fingers. Nana, I was kind of very surprised this week whilst I was doing my usual research that we have African communities in Pakistan. I didn't know that.
One of these days we'll go there. It's not just Pakistan.
Yeah, I know.
The whole of the Asian world.
Yes,
Yeah.
I knew about India and Sri Lanka. It never occurred to me that there are Africans in Pakistan.
Japan. Yeah.
I knew about Japan. I knew about China. I
Yeah.
never knew about Pakistan. I have to be honest. So we are all over the place and we have been disjointed. And it's time that people of African descent understand that we are the same one people, and that just as the Jamaicans, the Haitians have been coming home, it is time that we explore the possibility that the African diaspora should start not just physically going home, but sending our intellectual presence, our wealth, our knowledge, everything to rebuild the mother continent. Remember, life started in Africa. Every scientist will tell you that. Okay? Life, that is the cradle of life and of civilization itself. So I am very, very happy to see that the African youth are up and they are doing. And remember, we are the only ones who can rebuild Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Miss Veronica, I like your background. You probably can tell us a little bit about it in your introduction.
Okay. I'm happy to be here with you today. And my background is One Niger. I'm the CEO and founder of One Niger Incorporated, where we work with young people abroad and at home in the US to have them get to know one another better. And as the brother was speaking earlier, it's good for them to start at a young age, getting to be able to interact and getting to get rid of the stereotypes that we were taught as young people and really begin to know our brothers and sisters and the children, starting with the young people. That's the way that we begin, because they are going to be our future. And I'm just
Beautiful.
happy to be with you guys today.
Beautiful. You have a program. Would you like to talk about it? Or
Well, yes, we
Okay.
start One Eye just starts each we start each season a little bit before the holiday in the fall, and we have a few programs throughout the year. They're meant to be a pen pal program and also an essay video contest. We are preparing ourselves to get ready for our partner this year. Last year, we were in the United States and in Nigeria, and our Nigerian students worked with our United States students over a 6 week time period. After that, they also participated in the essay video contest. We had a great time. Everyone shared their holiday parties and their holiday celebrations, how they did it in Nigeria, and also how they did it here in the US. And we are just looking forward to building with different groups and different communities and working further.
Awesome. Beautiful. Yeah, we are privileged to have people like you working towards this dream of connecting Africa and Africans in the diaspora. We would also do anything we can in our power to support, because that is the only way we can bridge the gap, and the gap needs to be bridged. And I'm very much happy that it's being bridged from that early age
Mhm.
before they grow. So they would not, their perception and their thoughts would not be thwarted by misinformation and misconceptions. So we really applaud what you're doing, and we
Thank you.
are in full support, whichever way. Alrighty, with that being said, um, today I know there are a lot of demonstrations going on all over the world um, in support of what is going on in Burkina Faso. I'm trying to pronounce the word properly, the name Burkina Faso. So I know most of the people were hitting me up in the course of the weeks trying to get our perspective and what we think. They believe we have not spoken, we haven't said anything. Um, so we decided that we are going to make a statement today. Basically, what is going on in Burkina Faso is not a new thing. It's not a new thing. I'm not going to belabor the point, but most of us know colonization, the partition of Africa, and what they sought to do then, and the plans they had for Africa, and they still have for Africa. I said they had and have because the plans, it's been tweaked. What they had before has been tweaked. So before they came with brute force to take from us, this time they tweaked it under the guise of diplomacy, um, under the guise of bilateral trade, which it's on equal footings to still take from us. And they manipulate the system in Africa so they can still take from us. And it's been going on for years. At a point, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah emerged and he said, enough. We need to build our continent by ourselves. We need to rely on ourselves. He said the African is capable of building his country. And then he came up with the concept of neocolonialism. He came up with the um, let me use this word. He was influenced by the spirit to prophesy into the future. And he spoke about the future. He spoke about the hidden plans of the colonizers. And immediately they saw his intelligence and his power to see into the future and to even read their minds, they decided to eliminate him. And recently, we all know the declassified information suggests that CIA was part of the planning and the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. But this is how most of the covert activities are done, through the hands of your own people. You know, they stay behind, pull the strings, and let the work be done by your own people. There are a whole lot of issues. I don't want us to get into the dynamics of it, but we'll get into the dynamics of this. I would say a little bit about that in a different presentation on this platform as we go along, because I saw some people raising some questions, and I'm going to introduce that question here, and I would try to, or attempt to, answer that question. So this has been the trend, and anytime I go there, I get angry. I really get angry. It happened in Patrice Lumumba. It happened to Patrice Lumumba. You know,
let me interject. Patrice Lumumba was not a dictator. He was duly.
Those are the dynamics I said I don't want to go into.
Okay.
But just
all
say
right. He was duly elected
right.
by his own people,
right,
to spearhead their economic revival.
Right.
And the West knew that.
Right.
The only reason why he was eliminated is because he was not a pony. I needed to say this.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I was saying, it happened to Patrice Lumumba, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and a whole bunch of African leaders who decided to go against the status quo. You know, and the reason I said is sometimes I get really pissed off when I'm talking about some of these things. For instance, when recently Belgium came up with Patrice Lumumba's gold teeth, and I'm like, you're just giving the gold teeth to them, no compensation, nothing. Anyway, I don't want to get into the emotional element, so I'm not going to go there. So this has always been the trend, and we are very glad that this time the trend, in the days of social media, the trend and the plans were hatched under the glare face of the cameras and everything when they were interviewing General Langley, you know, and the things he said gave the whole plan out. And I kept thinking, why would they even do that? Why would they even publicize this? Why would they even allow cameras to capture this? But then again, when you think about it, they think we're fools. We really can't do nothing, you know. But thank God the world took it up and decided to speak against it, decided to demonstrate against it. You know, the trend needs to be stopped. I was talking to somebody. Let me go there. I was talking to somebody, and he was like, yeah, but he's associating himself with Russia. Just as the United States, I think and I believe that African leaders would have to adapt this strategy. We have no permanent friends. As in, when we need help, we will fall on you to help us.
The non-alliance movement.
Yes,
Kwame Nkrumah,
right,
again.
Right. You know, as in when we need help, we'll fall on you to help us. And at this point in time, they need some backbone. They cannot, look, no single African country can withstand the might of the colonial masters by themselves. No single African country. And so if you want to be wise enough, you need some backbone. And I am so glad that this gentleman is taking the opportunity to build his own whilst he's getting the help from or he's having some backbone. He's building his own. He's not just sitting down relying on the backbone, which most of the African leaders did. And at the point they were taken by surprise. So the issue, I was talking about the question. I heard one of the journalists, presenters, TV presenters in Ghana was asking why Zilla Liman would participate in the demonstration against Ibrahim Traore, because Ibrahim Traore happened to be, should I use the word, a coup leader? Because the presenter was wondering why she would be a part of the demonstration against the Western world on behalf of Ibrahim Traore, because his dad was overthrown by the military junta. I think I can use that word. The difference is that, first of all, Ibrahim Traore did not overthrow a constitutionally elected government. That should be established. And as a matter of fact, in most constitutions, I know for a fact that in Ghana's constitution, if somebody is successful in organizing a coup d'etat, and you are able to organize a counter coup d'etat, you are supposed to be applauded by the nation. If you are able to kick that person out, you're supposed to be, because that person is going against the will of the people. You know, so he did not organize a coup d'etat by displacing a constitutionally elected government. No, he displaced another coup maker. So let's get that facts clear. So you cannot compare, I'm going to mention the names. You cannot compare Ibrahim Traore to Jerry John Rawlings. It doesn't match. First of all, Rawlings overthrew a constitutionally elected government. You know, and second of all, Rawlings came after civilians. He pursued civilians, destroyed their companies, destroyed some of the people. Ibrahim Traore is not doing that. And his coup was limited within just the military forces, the military combats. That is where the coup was concentrating. He did not go outside the military to attack civilians. He didn't do that. So that tells me this is somebody who is conscious of his leadership mandate. Because one of the basic, you can shroud it in any form. One of the major and the basic mandate of leadership is to preserve life. And so he realized the importance of the human lives. And throughout the 2 years, we are seeing what he's doing to uplift the people of Burkina Faso. So we cannot compare the two. You're comparing oranges and bananas. I wouldn't even say apples because they're all round, so they kind of look alike. You're comparing oranges and bananas. You can't compare the two. So yes, I'm answering for Zilla Liman. She is supporting Traore because Traore is doing right by his people. Number two, I'm so glad Africans all over the world are waking up to the reality, to the manipulations and the arm twisting and behind the screens backstabbing gymnastics of the Western world. What is going on in Burkina Faso is what ought to go on in every single African country. We need the leadership who is first and foremost for his people. We need leadership who would have the spine to stand up against the Western world and say, this does not favor my people, so I'm not going for it. We need leadership who would have the spine to be able to negotiate. I'm not talking about what they call negotiations, where they come in, we negotiated a loan of whatever. Whereas when you go into details, you realize they just told them, hey, this is the terms of the loan. You agree to it, you take it. You don't agree to it, get out of here. So we definitely throw our support. Ibrahim Traore has our support. So those of you who want to know our position, we stand by Ibrahim Traore. He has our support. I know people wanted to know our position because we would not support any coup maker. Yes, and that principle still stands. But like I said, first of all, he did not overthrow a constitutionally elected government. And that alone gives us the grounds to look at him with a positive eye. Secondly, he is doing right by his people. And that is the most important thing to us, because we want the youth of Burkina Faso to progress. We want the people of Burkina Faso to progress. And he is trying to bring about or resurrect the image, that beautiful, tall image of Africa. Now he's made the world know that these people are not cowards. Recently, during the United Nations, I believe it was a subcommittee meetings where the president of South Africa was complaining that they are being treated like little boys. The African leaders are being treated like little boys. Why? Because they know you have no spine to stand up for what is right for yourself. And so they've been taken unawares by the bravery of Ibrahim Traore, where he says, nope, we don't do this here. It's going to be on fair terms. And then I keep asking myself, if America really is talking about democracy, and they know that democracy is not the same as multi-party democracy, they're two different things. They are two different things. The multi-party system is what you use to move the foundations of democracy along when it suits the understanding of your community. They've practiced it for over 200 years, and there are still loopholes in it. So it's not been perfected yet. The multi-party system has not been perfected by America. It still has loopholes. And we all see what's going on with the recent elections. The last 4 years, the last 8 years elections, what went on? We all saw it. So it's not been perfected yet. So they have to understand that when you're talking about democracy, it is not being multi-party system, or it's not being going to the ballot box every 4 years. Again, Burkina Faso has a peculiar situation. Their nation is being taken over or run over by jihadists. So basically, they are in a war zone. Technically, they are in a war zone. Because if you look at the progressions of Ibrahim Traore, That's all he's been dealing with during his military career, even when he was not the president. He was in the war front fighting against this jihadists, you know, and on that basis, it was on that basis that he came to power. Well, I would say part of the reasons he came to power was the fact that Paul, what was his name? Paul Damiba was not being proactive when it comes to the fight against the jihadists in Burkina Faso. And then the military was also being sidelined. So these were the two major reasons why he took over power from Paul. You know, so the Burkina Faso issue is a peculiar issue. So if I say that we stand or I stand by Ibrahim Traore, I'm not saying that I'm going to support any coup maker. No. We're supporting him because he has a unique situation. And I think we will be foolish enough to close our eyes to the uniqueness of Burkina Faso and the place they stand now. So that is my position. And I want to believe that Africa is waking up to know what is right for Africans. I think I've spoken at length. I would drop the mic so that I see Prof is itching to jump in. So go ahead, Prof.
The first thing I would love to remind ourselves is that until the lion learns to write, the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. History has it that it is the victors that write the story of the war. And nobody is going to point to his father's village with the left hand, as we say in our proverbs. As Africans, we should stop allowing other people to tell our stories. We should learn to tell our own stories. The world is flat now. Whatever happens in New York will be seen and heard in Bujumbura within 5 seconds. We should not wait and sit there and allow people who do not have our interests at heart to be writing our stories. It is our story. We should own it. I've never heard the United States telling Saudi Arabia how to run its country. I've never heard Russia telling the US where they may infiltrate, they may try to change public perception, but I've not heard Russia telling the US how to run its democracy. Neither have I ever heard the US telling Russia how to run its democracy. He might complain about how their things are done. He might complain about how China does its democracy, whatever, but it doesn't tell China how it should run its democracy. So why is it that the West feels the need and the righteous indignation to condemn everything that we do in Africa? Why do they have the right? Let me tell you why. Because they have this misguided conception that they own Africa. And for my part, I blame us. We've been playing on the defense forever. That's what we've been doing. We've been trying to appease a group of people who cannot be appeased because they practically believe that they own Africa. That is why people without a knowledge of their roots and culture can never advance. That's
what they did in Berlin Conference.
Yes, that's what Marcus Garvey said. You need to understand your roots. For if you do not understand your roots, you cannot progress. That is why we learn about the Jews and the Holocaust. And when we were in school in Africa, nobody taught us about what King Leopold did to the Congo. You don't hear the Congolese using the massacre of their people as a justification for anything.
I don't mean to cut you, but somebody said Adolf Hitler is being termed the most wicked man because he killed thousands of Jews. I'm not justifying any killing whatsoever, but they forgot that millions of Congolese were massacred by Leopold.
Yeah.
Continue.
Leopold used the Congo as his personal piggy bank for years, decades. And they said nothing about it. We were not even taught, but we were taught about the Holocaust. Because melanin-infested human beings do not count for some people. That's the fact. If we did count, let me tell you what infuriates me the most about this whole hypocrisy of the West. When they were forming the European Union, a lot of the European countries never knew about France's reserves, and that the reserves came from Francophone countries, and that they were pillaged. And that even up till today, Francophone, so-called Francophone countries are supposed to keep a higher percentage of their reserves with the Bank of France. A lot of the European nations did not know that. And France actually advertises that that money is France's money. It is part of their GDP. But they are pillaging and stealing that money from African countries, and they never told them. How can you steal from countries that are supposedly poor? But then you come here and you claim that they are not doing democracy. And why don't you go and tell China that it has a one-party system and that is not democracy? Why don't you tell that to Russia? Why is it that you feel the need to tell Mali and to tell Burkina and to tell Ghana and to tell Egypt or to tell South Africa that their system of governance is not democracy? The Asante Kingdom was practicing democracy long before you came along. And that's why I am saying that it is us who are to blame. And that is why I am very happy that the youth of Africa are opening our eyes to the fact that they are no longer subservient, they are not dumb, they can form their own opinions. And it starts from knowing your history. That is where it starts from. And as long as we continue to play the ostrich, these people will come at us. Let me give you one more reason why we should support Burkina Faso and Mali and all these other so-called Guinea, all these other countries that are deviating from what the West wants us to.
Niger, sorry, I said Guinea. Niger.
Yeah, Niger rather.
Right.
All these countries in West Africa that are deviating from what the West wants us to do. If you don't know the history, let me tell you. When Kwame Nkrumah wrote Neocolonialism and opened the eyes of people to it, and the CIA started hatching their plans together with their allies, do you know the first thing that they did? They stopped export of flour and milk to Ghana. That was their first step, to make the population of Ghana dissatisfied with their government, because you can't get flour to make bread, which is a daily staple. I did not applaud when Mohamed Traore made the coup. You remember we talked about it. all the coups that were running around in West Africa, I said, we need to give them time and we need to watch what they are doing. And until you know what they are doing, you cannot say they have done a good job or they have done a bad job. When I was much younger, I would have jumped up and decried, you guys want to go to military regimes and whatnot. But I'm older now and I am a little bit more wise. That's what I would love to think. What I see Mohamed Traoré doing, taking back the agricultural prominence of his country, making sure that his country do not need importation of food for his people to survive. That was
just to throw that in. Most of their land, majority of their land is desert.
Exactly.
And now they are producing food. So that tells you the kind of leadership they have now.
He stopped importing rice. He's producing wheat. He actually stopped the importation of four-wheel drives into his country and started importing agricultural machinery.
I was shocked to hear that Ghana buys onions from Burkina Faso,
a country which has a far less annual rainfall than Ghana. We just don't buy onions from them. We buy tomatoes from them.
Yes.
Don't let me get into it. So why are you telling me this is bad? Because if Nkrumah had waited and put a lot more resources into farming, making sure that we are self-sufficient in agricultural produce, if we have never believed that cocoa is going to make us rich. I've always believed that being self-sufficient in food is the first step towards development. And then creating our own agro-based industries. And that's exactly what this guy is doing. So that when you decide not to export any more rice or any more flour to his country, he's producing his own rice, he's producing his own flour, he's producing what his people need to survive. How come we use our hard-earned foreign exchange to go buy food from, say, Malaysia or from China? Or from, why? Why do we need to do this? So I am very glad that the youth of Africa have risen up to see this, and they are saying that take your hands off our leadership. If you had been doing such a wonderful job, there would have been no Mohamed Traoré. Let me give you a few things. France has no active gold mines, but the Bank of France has 2,437 metric tons of gold reserves, and that's the fourth largest in the world. France has the fourth largest gold reserves. Mali, which has tons of gold in the ground, and they have 16 active gold mines, which were all owned by French subsidiaries, have only 731 metric tons of gold in their national reserves. Until just last year, Burkina Faso, which has gold mines, didn't have any gold reserves. Where do you think the gold reserves are? So, since independence in the 1960s, Burkina Faso has been ruled by what? French-backed individuals, whether it is military, whether it is so-called democracy. These people were just puppets. And the only exception that I remember in my lifetime was Thomas Sankara. And they cut his head like a dog, just like they tried to do to Nkrumah, just like they did to all our prophets. And Bob Marley said, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? So I'm very happy that the youth of Africa have decided they are no longer going to stand aside and that they are going to get engaged long before you try to eliminate the guy. Leave the guy alone. You guys have left North Korea alone. It has been a dictatorship for more than 40 years. You left North Korea alone. Oh, human rights abuses, whatever. Nobody has gone there to terminate the leadership of this guy, even after he died and his son took over. Leave Africa alone. Allow Africans to decide what Africans want to do with their own people. Because when you went to Libya and eliminated Gaddafi, Libya today is 1 billion times worse than when Gaddafi was alive. So leave Africa alone. We don't need you to come in here and eliminate anybody else. We will deal with our own problems as we go along. It is not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the people of Burkina to decide that this guy fits their leadership criteria or they do not fit the. When Donald Trump decided to ignore the Supreme Court, I never heard any African leader sit anywhere and say that we should go and overthrow the government of the United States. So until we learn to write our own stories, the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. We should stop being the hunted. We should go on the hunt. We are as human as any group of human beings. We should stop playing defense and we should stop calling them our development partners. I hate that. They are not our development partners. They consider us subservient. Let's understand that when we are dealing with them. It happens even here in the United States. If you have this skin, you are supposedly subservient. We should stand tall. We should stand proud. We should let people understand that we are not begging for any pittance. They can have what they have. They should allow us to live our lives in peace. That is all I can say for today.
All righty. Miss Veronica.
I was inspired by what I was seeing about Ibrahim Faso. And it was something to me to see. I ran across a story where the people were actually sleeping outside of his home in order to protect him and keep people away from him.
Yeah, that's symbolic. I can assure you he's not in there.
But the fact that people would
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
behind their president was something pretty amazing. And for me, as I embrace myself or should I say, learn more about up-to-date African history as I begin to look at what's happening today and things that are affecting me here in the US, because a lot of times I feel that those of us who are in the US are not as involved in what's going on in Africa because we feel like it's over there. And they don't realize that there are big impacts for those brothers and sisters in Africa as well as us here. And until people are able to pay attention and make the connections, it'll be hard for there to be growth. There'll always be that gap until we really start to pay attention and begin to understand and see the interconnectedness, both as a people, also economically. All these things are affecting us as a whole. And I do want to end, and Chroma, who you always talk about, I heard a saying from him that was, a man is not African because he's born there, but he's African because it's in his heart. And as long as we understand, and for me, I'm African American. I was my ancestry is there, and I always want that connection. But when it's in our heart, although we're here, we are African, we are part of the diaspora, and we all need to work together in order to help grow the continent.
Thank you so much. I'm just looking at the countries where the demonstrations are going on. They have Burkina Faso, Ghana, Liberia, Gambia, France, United Kingdom, United States, Australia. Um, Let me see, South Africa. Uh, my cursor is not helping me out. Yeah, but a whole bunch of countries are demonstrating against the United States and in support of Ibrahim Traore. And I must say this, I'm so glad United States, for some reason, decided to do this particular interview in the cameras, in the glare of the cameras for us to see. Because until this actually came up, everybody was quiet, going about their business until this leaked, and people were like, hold on. I don't think they want to do to this guy what they did to the past leaders of Africa. So people are standing up, and I am so glad, especially blacks all over the world. Trust me, people are paying attention to Africa now. From all over the world, people are paying attention to Africa because of what is going on with Ibrahim Traore. And we want to say kudos. And we also want to congratulate, or we want to encourage and praise his bodyguard who refused the money to assassinate him, just like they did to Thomas Sankara. You know, um, Blaise Compaoré was bribed to kill his own friend, childhood friend. This is how callous and how insensitive and how wicked you can be.
And
Somebody
then
whose
even
dad even fed you.
and then after he became president for 2 consecutive terms, he refused to leave. And France didn't say anything.
France was supporting him.
Exactly. And now you want to come here and talk like as if democracy is what is important to you? No, democracy is not important to you. It is just your ability to pilot, siphon resources from
Yeah, but
Burkina.
that's also the irony on the part of the United States. If democracy was important to you, democracy dictates that the people, the power belongs to the people. You are not part of the people. So you are actually violating democracy. Because democracy says the power is for the people, and you are not part of the people. So why are you going to make decisions on their behalf? That is even anti-democracy. What America is doing is anti-democracy.
Exactly.
So I'm glad he's encouraged himself. He came up with a tweet, I believe yesterday or the day before, and said that he's been emboldened by what's going on, and he's not going to give up. He's not going to cower it in. He's going to fight on till Africa stands tall. And I'm so glad that he's Afrocentric, he's Pan-Africanist, and he's pushing that agenda. And I believe that at the end of the day, this is going to inspire the youth who are getting into politics in their various countries. Let us begin to explore that concept. Let's begin to nurture that African unity concept. Because trust me, if Africa were to be united, he wouldn't need the backing of Russia. No, he wouldn't need the backing of Russia. If Africa were to be united, we can withstand the might of any country or any continent in the world. But now we have to make alliances and get some backbone from other places just because we are fragmented. And as fragmented as we are, we don't have the might to withstand some of these people. And again, I would always want to believe this, even though I don't have a proof, but we're not going to allow what they did to the president of Tanzania, Magufuli. Well, they said he died of heart attack. Uh, I doubt it. Anyway, it looks like we can't talk about Galamsey, but briefly, Prof, last week you were making a statement on the Galamsey issue. If you can just use about 3 minutes to sum it up, or 3 minutes is not enough for you, so you want us to push it to next week?
We can push everything back to next week. This issue of Galamsey and the issue of people resigning in Ghana or anywhere else, or the way we run our governments, our procurement laws, and the fact that they have become an official vehicle for enriching individuals in the form of bribery and corruption is something that we really need to give it some thought and talk about. So kudos to Burkina and kudos to the African continent for now reimagining Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's vision. You know, I will always say that I am not an Nkrumahist, but I'm a Pan-Africanist. And he's the biggest embodiment of being Pan-African. And so for that, I support him even in his grave. And to have somebody come up and be talking about the fact that the African needs to stand tall and stand on his own before he can garner the respect of the world, that's just the truth. You don't go begging for people to respect you. You have to prove that you are respectable, that you can stand on your own 2 feet. And this guy is doing it. And all other people, either you're going to support him or you can just shut up, because he doesn't need you. He only needs people who are going to understand that he wants his people to be fed, clothed, and sheltered. Basic rights for human dignity. Okay? I don't understand how the uranium to power the electricity in France comes from Mali, and Mali has no electricity. Nobody can convince me that if France considered Mali a co-equal, they will not produce the same amount of electricity in Mali as in France. I recently sent you a video of the wife of the president of Liberia talking about the fact that they don't have equal rights when they are talking to their colonial masters, and that almost every electricity company in Liberia is owned by foreigners. And
I
yet
told you
still,
the South African president said it. They talk to them like little boys.
they are errand boys. They are errand boys. And until they unite, this should tell them that what we've been saying all along is true. Like I said, if you want to understand our paradigm, go back to our idioms and our proverbs. The Asante say, praye uibakwa nebu, ukabomwa ebu. If you go to any other language, there will be a literal translation of this proverb. If you take a bunch of the broomsticks, you can never break it, even if you are the world's strongest man, but pick them one by one, it will be broken. That is what we call divide and rule. The United States, the West have been using these tactics against us for 400 years. Divide them. Go and tell lies about this one. Tell them that that is what brought about the Hutus and the Tutsis, who had been living together for thousands of years to try and kill each other. Okay? That is what has divided all of us. Divide and rule. So it is time for us to unite. It is time for us to unite.
It is time for us to unite. Miss Veronica, it looks like you had something to add to it.
Just a quick question, not really an ad, and maybe for a later time that there could be some more discussion. But my question is about the African Union and where does it stand when there are African issues? Like what's happening and where's the activity there?
You took the wind out of my sail. That was going to be my last statement before I go, because I was going to piggyback on what Prof said, that kudos to the Africans who were supporting Ibrahim Traore. I was going to clarify and say not the African leaders, but the African people who are supporting him, because we haven't heard shush from African Union. We haven't heard Jack from ECOWAS. We haven't heard Jack from South African whatever. We haven't heard anything from any of these bodies, but we don't
Nana,
even need them. So
Nana is
long as the people rises
because they are
to the
scared.
occasion, we're good.
They are scared.
Yeah, because we're talking about their masters here.
Exactly. They are
Anyway,
scared.
time is far gone. We are actually 2 minutes over our time, but on that note, we would want to thank everybody who's been a part of. I couldn't even go on Facebook to check, but we'll do that next week. And if we have any questions or any suggestions, we'll read them out next week. But we want to thank everybody who took time to be a part of today's Analyze This. My name is, and it would always be, Nana Osei Jr. of Africa International Organization and Certo Leadership International. And I have
Kojo Frimpong of Africa and Settle.
and
Veronica Otuola from One Niger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you all next week, same time. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right.
Bye.